Hi everyone, it's Jessica. For those of you who may not know, I am actually a high school teacher, and today my own children and I were fortunate enough to get a snow day from school because not only do we have a bunch of snow, but we have a little bit of freezing rain mixed in, which made for the perfect packing snow. And so my kids have already been outside in the yard building all sorts of fun snow sculptures, and of course I ventured out and took a couple of pictures. Now, like most scrapbookers, I am a couple of years behind my photos, but I thought it would be fun to scrapbook the photos I just took not that long ago on my snow day because I've already done all of my chores and it's time to have a little bit of fun today. And I am still so in love with the snow mice stamp set. I cannot get enough of these guys. They are too darn cute. And so I have just been on the lookout for any kind of winter themed pictures that I can do so that I can use the stamp set. I've done a couple of videos recently that features these mice, and so I will link to that in the description box down below. But I thought it would be fun for today's layout to challenge myself to use only cardstock and no pattern paper. So we'll see if I can manage to make that happen, but I am ready to have a little bit of fun on my unexpected day off. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. I went through my pattern books and I found in Make It From Your Heart Volume 3, pattern number 35, a layout that I think is going to work for my 6 pictures. I really wanted to use the one picture of the 3 kids in a 4x6 format, and I didn't mind cutting down the others to different sizes. So this is what I came up with, and I think I am going to do some different cardstock treatments just because my challenge was to use only cardstock. I pulled out this old embossing folder. It has some really pretty snowflakes on it. And I think I'm going to take this periwinkle cardstock that I have at the top of my layout, and I'm going to run it through that folder. It's nice because there is a slit in the top, so that way, even though it's a 12-inch piece, I can still slide the whole thing through and run it a couple of times in my die cutting machine and get the whole piece embossed. You can't really see where that seam is, so that works out really nicely. Now, one of my favorite things to do to cardstock is to sand it to reveal that white core, especially after running it through an embossing folder. So this is my mini ink blending tool that actually I use with a little foam head to put some ink on. But I have these little sanding discs from Tim Holtz, and it fits perfectly, and it's meant to go with this little tool. And so I just use it to do some sanding on my paper, and you can see here that when I brush off all that dust, I have revealed some of that white core, and that just really makes those snowflakes kind of pop a little bit on that periwinkle color. Now, I had the 2 1-inch strips that go at the bottom of the layout, and even though I've already cut those, I think I'm going to set them to the side and cut them again because another thing that I like to do with cardstock is to cut it using a stylus tool. So I'm going to recut these just because those 1-inch strips were a little small to do this treatment to, but I'm just putting this in a paper trimmer, and I'm using the tiny end of my little tool here, and I am pushing it into that groove, and if I go through twice, it should make a cut. Now, I want the distressed side to be showing on the dark side of the cardstock, so I did turn it upside down in order to make it show on the correct side of everything. And I was about to do it again, and then I realized, you know what, I've already got it on this side. All I need to do is just put it in my regular paper trimmer and cut my next 1-inch piece of paper. So since I am not using any pattern paper on this layout, I am just kind of, digging through my old favorite tricks that I like to do with cardstock just to kind of fancy this up a little bit so that way it doesn't feel quite so plain. And then, of course, I love to do a little bit of ink distressing to the edges of my papers. I'm going to go ahead and add that periwinkle ink to these pieces here, and off camera, I will do it to the other pieces of cardstock that I have cut as well. Now I want to just kind of go ahead and lay things out without gluing anything down. I'm just doing the one side of the layout right now, just so I can see if this is really kind of looking okay or if I need to add something else. I'm thinking that maybe I will put a little bit of stamping down near the bottom piece there. So I just want to, like I said, lay it out and kind of get a visual first to make sure that everything is looking okay. I did also use some sapphire cardstock, wisteria, and evergreen, and so those are the colors that I've pulled. I have this old stamp set. It's actually not that old. It's just from this past December. It was the stamp of the month, and there is this really fun snowflake border on it. So I'm thinking that maybe if I stamp that where it's kind of coming out from underneath that bottom piece of cardstock, that might be a fun way to add a little bit of something else to the layout. I think I'm going to go with sapphire. I wasn't sure what color I wanted to use, but I think I'm going to go with sapphire stamping. I want to make sure I get it on straight, so I'm just going to scoop my paper up here so that I can use my T-square ruler. I don't know about you guys, but I find if I try to hook my T-square ruler too close to one of the corners, there's not quite enough real estate on there for that side edge to kind of hook on things and really give a true straight line. So when that happens, I just scoop my paper up so that way I have a little bit more space to use that T-square ruler. Okay, now that I've got a guiding line here, I'm going to flip my Versamat over so that I can use the foam side of things, and I'm going to stamp those snowflakes all the way across using that sapphire ink. And I think that this turns out really cute. I like how it brings the sapphire down to the bottom of the page. One little trick though, when you are stamping, especially onto your layout itself, is just double check your block after inking up your stamp and make sure that there is no stray ink anywhere on there, because that is a really fast and easy way to ruin your layout. So I just was very careful of stamping all the way across that piece of white daisy. Okay, I've gone ahead and glued everything down except for my little journaling block, and then that 4x6 piece of sapphire cardstock, because I think I'm going to build up a little scene on it, and I thought it might be easier to do that if I didn't have it glued down to my layout just yet. Using my fancy border thin cuts, I went through and cut a couple of snowbanks and snow hills, and just kind of playing around with what kind of scene can I create here. I don't know if I want it to be quite so hilly, so I'm going to set that one to the side and just layer these two up here. I like the way that that looks. And then I'm going to take my little snow mice, which I did color off camera, and I used my tri-blend markers. And I'm just going to put the snowball mice over here. I've already glued a couple of pieces of cardstock behind the other two mice, but this one here I still have to glue together. So I just run my die cuts through on some scrap pieces of paper, and then I like to stack them up together. I have found that I have been able to conserve my foam tape a little bit by doing this trick, and I like how solid they turn out. So that way it's even coverage all the way behind in the back for that dimension. And then I'll put a black on top of this guy just to make sure that he glues nicely. And I think I'm going to put him over here on this snow hill. Okay. All right. And then I have these snowflakes actually left over from another project that I made, and I cut them out of white glitter paper. I figured this is a snow day layout. I should probably put some snowflakes on here somewhere. So I'll definitely need to cut a couple more of those, but I'm just trying to make sure that that's actually what I want to include on my layout here. I think I'll do a little something like this. Now, as far as the title, I'm looking at the sentiments on my Snow Mice stamp set, and they are a little tiny for what I'm wanting. So I went digging through my stash, and this is the old months of the year January stamp set, and I've got a couple of different options on here. There is a stamp that says Snow Day. I thought about doing something with the word January because it does fit nicely right on that 3x3 square up there. But then I saw the one that says, Baby, It's Cold Outside, and I think that I might stamp that. Originally, I'm thinking right here at the bottom of that wisteria square, but I'm going to end up moving that, but it will definitely be the title on my layout. Now, there are some really pretty snowflake stamps on that set, so I'm going to do a little bit of random stamping on these wisteria squares before I glue anything down and cover them up. So I'm just grabbing some blacks here, and I'm trying to decide what color ink to stamp my snowflakes in. I'm thinking maybe tone on tone would be pretty, but maybe I should do white pigment ink since it is snow. And so rather than waste a piece of cardstock and get one out and kind of test it, I know I'm going to have that snowbank down there, so I'm just going to stamp one of each in a spot that I know will be hidden, and that way I can determine what kind of snowflake I'm going to like better. So there's the wisteria one for a little bit of tone on tone, and then I'll grab a little bit of white pigment ink here and put that down. Now, if I hadn't already glued this paper down to my layout, I could have done some white heat embossing, but the white was just really not bright enough. So I decided to go with the wisteria and do some tone on tone. So I'm going to random stamp there. I'll do the same thing to the other 3x3 square on the left-hand side of the layout off camera, and then I will finish up this 4x6 piece here with my little scene with my snowball mice. So I'm just trying to determine exactly where the hill is going to go, and I want to make sure that whatever piece I put in the back is going to be covered adequately by that front piece. So I drew myself a little line to make sure I glue it down in the right spot, and then I will just cut that whatever is hanging off and use it to create a couple of snow hills. So while I am making this, I'll just let you know that it took me, I didn't quite finish this layout on my snow day, and I thought, oh darn, I wanted to have it done since it was my snow day challenge. I did run out of time, but lo and behold, I got a call again, and I have a second snow day. So 2 snow days in a row, which is really exciting, especially because this winter has been a little bit warm and weird. And even a week and a half ago, the sentiment at school was that we might make it through an entire school year with no snow days whatsoever. And then in the space of about 7 days, we have now had 3. So that's pretty exciting if you are, a teacher or a student. Everybody loves a good snow day. So I'm finishing this up on my second snow day. Now, I went digging through my stash of dies, and I did have these tiny little snowflakes and tiny little pine trees. I thought that those would be fun to add to my scene here, just to bring in that evergreen color a little bit more. I'm going to end up cutting the little trunks off so that way the trees are flat on the bottom, and I will layer those up and put my title right there up with a little bit of foam tape. I've got everything glued down except for the remaining snowflakes. I'm just going to kind of play around here with where they should go. I think I might build a cluster up here. I stamped and fussy cut that snow day stamp out, which was perfect since, it's all about our fun snow day. And then I'll use the little tiny snowflake die cuts to kind of fill in almost just like sequins or something. I wanted something smaller. I love those snowflakes that I have, but some of them are kind of big, and I wanted something to kind of balance that out with a little tinier size. So just going to scatter those around my 3 points, and that makes my visual triangle. I'm just about done here. I'm going to grab my clear shimmer brush and go over the furry part of my sledding mouse. I like to do that on her coat and the muff around to her hood. And then I also added a little bit of clear shimmer brush to the bottoms of all the snowballs and all of the snow hills and things like that. The last little thing I'm going to do is grab some silver colored stickles and just add a little something to the top of 2 of the mice's hats. And that is going to be it. So there, I did it. I managed to put a layout together using no pattern paper and only cardstock, but I did use some of my favorite cardstock techniques like embossing it and sanding it, random stamping, and cutting it with that stylus tool just to give it a fun distressed look. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you are enjoying whatever kind of weather you've got going on where you are. I will see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye.